Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Dover. I'm here with Stan Milford, and we have a special guest today. His name is John Burroughs, and John was a witness to the Rendlesham Forest incident at Bentwaters in the UK, and we're going to be talking to him today. So stay with us, and I think this is going to be a really interesting show. How are you doing today, Stan? Stan, can you hear me? Stan? Okay.
I don't think he was working just a few seconds ago, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but also before you bring John on, John and I, and possibly Commander Cobra, another host on the network, he's going to be doing a 22-chapter animated series. It's going to air weekly, and it'll be on KGRA and all the different video and audio platforms, and it's called The Green Veil. It's 22 chapters. It will end on Christmas Eve at noon. Now, this will air Thursdays, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern, so everybody knows. This is going to be tremendous. I've seen some information regarding it, and actually, like I said, I'm working along with John on this, and I have a trailer that I'd like to show you. And
yes, by all means.
There's a little promo, so why don't we do that while Stan is working his way back toward us? So let's do that right now.
Was nothing, just lights in the trees, a trick of the frost, a ghost on the breeze. But I saw a mirror older than me, staring through time like it wanted to speak. The forest went silent, the world held its breath. Something was watching beyond life and death. We stepped through the green, boots breaking the seal, not chasing a light, but something too real. I came back with salt on my skin, my mind split wide when the storm got in. They call it a test, but I know the deal. History blinks beneath the green veil. Sergeant K whispered, it's not ahead, it's below. Fuse dog tags and timeout ought to flow. They never found what we left in that light, but it's humming in blood and it won't come out right. They filed a report, redacted my name, buried the footage, rewrote the game, but I still hear it deep in the noise, a signal that speaks with my voice. I came back with salt on my skin, my soul unthreaded from where I have been. They say I survived, but I know I failed, left something behind in the green veil. So if you hear static out under the pine and feel like your breath ain't following time, don't look too close, don't break the seal. Some echoes are meant to stay buried in the field.
That was pretty good.
So it's called The Green Veil, 22 animated chapters, and it'll begin next week, Thursday, 5:30 to 6 p.m. on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And the main character is Jack Barrett. but you can see, and it is sci-fi, but you can see where the story already is going to trend to go toward, to his own probably personal experience. I don't want to speak for John, but what happened at Rendlesham and his something that he wrote about this. So guys, have a great show, and looking forward to it. So have a great show.
Okay. Stan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Hopefully you can hear me okay, and the video
Yep.
part of it's working great.
We can hear you and we can see you just fine.
Good.
I was just saying that Michelle, the government van is probably parked down the street from her, and she has no internet service. So
Yeah.
she may or may not be on with us. If she comes on, she'll jump in midstream. And today we have John Burroughs with us, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Rendlesham Forest incident that occurred in the UK.
Right. Well, it's exciting to talk to John about his experience and what he recalls of this particular event. I would say that this, like many of the paranormal things I've experienced, are life-changing. You know, after that experience, there's everything before that experience, and then everything that's come after that experience. And so it should be really interesting. You and I have in the past, you know, spoke to other individuals that are related to this particular incident, that being Colonel Halt, the IUFOC in the past. And so it's exciting to have somebody of this caliber with this kind of experience, you know, on our show.
Yeah. So John, are you there? Hey, John. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So Rendlesham Forest, you were, what rank were you when you were there?
For military people, I was an E3, but for the Air Force people, I was an airman first class.
Okay. So, wow. So you've had some years prior to that. I mean, you weren't just a brand new rookie coming
No,
out.
I've been there. I've been on the base just short of a year and a half when the incident took
Okay.
place. Matter of fact, it was right at a year and a half when the incident took place.
Yeah, I did notice in reading about it, as soon as that story broke, a lot of the skeptics came out of the woodwork right away and started just tearing everything to pieces. And what I find is amazing is that the skeptics are like, don't bother me with the facts. My mind is made up. And, you know, so nothing you say or do or any evidence that you produce is going to change my mind. And I've noticed that about a lot of different paranormal cases, even ones that we've investigated. Right away, people just seem to explode out of the woodwork and say, oh, that's not true. And, you know, they just want clicks on the YouTube channel or whatever. So let's get started. Why don't you tell us what happened to you, what you were doing over there, and for everybody not in the know, that base is in the UK, and we have basically billions of dollars worth of military hardware, aircraft, and munitions stored there. And it is heavily guarded. And the guards that are put there are not like our security guards that you just hire off the street and give them a blue shirt and send them out there. These guys are well trained specifically to guard those military assets that are there at the base. So, John, why don't you tell us your story?
Well, to set the stage, it was at the time in 1980, we were in the Cold War, at the point when the incident happened, we were the largest TAC fighter wing in the Air Force at the time. And the mission was twofold, one classified, one not. The one that's not classified was the A-10, believe it, is still flying today, but the A-10 was just off the assembly line, and it was what the government decided they were going to counter the Soviet overwhelming tank advantage that they had. So they staged them at Bentwaters and Woodbridge. They had 5 squadrons. They had facilities in Germany that if things heated up, they could deploy, or they would deploy some or all, depending on the incident, what was going on, forward. They called forward locations. And then they would bring in the second mission, which was classified, and as far as I know, is still classified to this day. And the A-10s would take on the tanks from the Russians. So we were the largest TAC fighter wing. We had all different kinds of resources there. You're right, we were highly trained compared to what a security guard was. So, and we had two different, it was called security police at the time, law enforcement and security. And then K9 was assigned to law enforcement. Now it's one unit, it's called security forces, and they all work under one AFSC and stuff. But back then there were 2 separate AFSCs and 2 separate things. I was law enforcement. And so I wasn't involved with the security of the resources to include the aircraft. My job was like a regular cop. You know, we handled incidents, anything that went on the base. And then on the off time, we had to check buildings and check the perimeter. And on the particular night the incident took place, it was around 3 o'clock in the morning on the 26th of December. It was a dead night. I was on RF at Woodbridge, and my supervisor, who just got to the base in the last month, wanted to meet up with me, because sometimes on slow times, when you're working all the time, it's hard to talk to your supervisor and stuff. So we rode together for a while. And when we were down checking the back gate, he saw something strange come down in the sky into the forest. He got my attention because I'd been there over a year and a half, and wanted to know if I'd seen anything like that before, and I hadn't. So at that point, whatever it was in the forest. You could see it through the trees in the forest, and it was different colored lighting. So he was pretty straight by the book, but he felt like maybe because he didn't want to call in something stupid, that we should at least leave the gate and go down to the end of the road, which we did. And then I opened up the vehicle, and that's when it was really strange. There was like a static electricity in the air. And at that point, there was a white light that these lights were within, and it started moving towards us. So we decided to go ahead and get back on the base, called it in on the phone. First, they didn't believe us. It was Christmas night. They were playing music on one of the frequencies, and I was a practical joker. But once we got security involved, the security control, they realized something was going on. So they sent the security supervisor down. He saw the same thing. And they also did a search on the different radar sites, our radar, RAPCON, Eastern Radar, and Heathrow Tower. And they'd seen an object on radar that was over the area that went down into the forest area where we saw something go down. So for all the skeptics, and I don't have anything against skeptics, guys, it's the debunkers that I don't like. Skeptical, it's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to challenge facts and stuff. I mean, that's going on right now. A lot of what's going on that they're feeding us about UFOs right now. I'm skeptical about some of what's going on. So, but the debunkers are the ones that just try to destroy whatever you say. So the decision was made, because something may have crashed into the forest, that 3 of us would go out. So we went ahead and left our weapons with my supervisor, drove down and entered the forest in the vehicle. We went on a logging road that we could only go so far, and then we had to get out and start on foot. Now, that's where things get strange, because not only did it seem like it was toying with us, but each one of us have a different description on what we saw and what we remember. So eventually we did get close to it. They lost radio contact with us before we got close to it. And when we came up on it, we all hit the ground. and the light got really bright. And then what I remember was it got really bright, and within seconds it dimmed. Whatever it was lifted up through the trees, which was strange, and departed out towards the field. Peniston, the guy that was with me, said that he was able to get up, walk around it, take notes, touch it, get a binary download. Ed Kabansak said that he remembered blacking out, and he doesn't remember much after that. So from that point, we went ahead, and there was a small barbed wire fence that led off the base or the forest into the field, the farmer's field, and some of the houses down farther through the field. And we crossed the barbed wire fence. We could still have radio contact, and we started heading towards the houses that were down there, or cottages. And we did see a brief light down by there. At that point, we got down to the cottages. There was a road. There was another field. And we could see in the distance some more lighting up in the sky. And we proceeded out into the next field where Peniston split off from us, and Ed and I kept going forward. And this is where it gets interesting, because I went back over there in 18 to retrace the route. From the time it happened till the time we got out where we got and got back, there's no way we could have done that. We could not have physically done all that in 2 hours, because we went all the way out to a cliff that went over the coast. And we actually saw a lighthouse at that point. So that's what happened on the first night. Any questions?
Just a point of clarification for everybody out there listening. John said that they left their weapons at the base. And just so everybody understands, when they left the base, they were on English soil. And so they were in a complete different jurisdiction, and were unable to have weapons at that point. So just to clarify.
Yeah, status of forest agreement that we weren't. Now, to add to that, though, Ed, like I said, all three of us remember it differently. Ed thought we were, he claims he did an interview and said we were armed, and I drew my sidearm when we got close to it, and it knocked us all out. So all three of us, from the time we got close to it, completely remember it differently, guys.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
So even though you have differences in description of the event in detail there, you did actually witness an actual physical object that?
No, I never saw a physical object. Peniston claimed it was a triangular object. Ed said it was lights, and I said it was lights. So, and that fits more into orbs and plasmas and different things like that. And when I say that, people will jump on that right away. But later we can go into what we've uncovered over the years through declassified documents on just how deep this was, what was going on in the area that we weren't aware of at the time, and how what happened to us relates to the Tic Tac and everything else.
I see.
Continue, please.
Okay, so second night, we went on break. That was our last mid. So we were on a 3-day break, which would have been Friday morning. We went on break for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Night 2, they call it, which didn't get discovered years later, which I found out about, but actually I knew about it right away. But Halt wanted to downplay it forever until he couldn't anymore. I went up on the desk early on Saturday morning because they were on the midnight shift on Friday night. And when I went up there, I found out that they had an encounter that night. And the way it was explained to me, so everybody understands this is secondhand now. I wasn't directly involved in it too. But the desk sergeant said they saw lights, which we've had over the years. I've interviewed the people that were working that night, and there was an incident. They did see strange lights in the forest. Sergeant Ball and the shift commander, Lieutenant Tamplin, went out there to investigate. When Tamplin was heading out there, she had an encounter with a blue light object that went through her vehicle and shut it down. Now, this is where, again, secondhand, and they just came out with a new documentary on it from England, some people that were involved. There's been people that have claimed that not only did it shut her vehicle down, but she shot a couple of rounds off at it. So I don't know if she did or not, but that's some of what's been stated in the last 10 years or so. But what I can tell you is whatever happened to her, it shook her up so bad, she got relieved of duty, and she was the only one that got sent away. There were all kinds of rumors that other people left early. She did. In fact, on night 3, when Halt was out there, she should have been the one out there, but she was relieved of duty, and they sent her somewhere. She left the base and was never seen again. So we'll get to night 3. After finding out about night 2, I went to the dorm, and a couple of guys I worked with, I told them what I found out. And they said, let's go out there on night 3 to figure out maybe we can figure out what's going on, because it just didn't add up. So we went ahead and hung out for the day, and that night we went out there. Well, when we got out to the area, we went through the gate. The gate guard stopped us and said, they're out in the forest again. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, something's going on. So we got down to the east gate where we got held for a while. And you'll hear on the Halt tape where my name's mentioned. It says, I have Airman Burroughs and 2 other personnel want to come to your location, that's what broke open the fact that I was involved in night 3, because Halt denied that I was at first. And we ended up going out and meeting with Colonel Halt's party. And at that point, there was something that they had been seeing stuff. He pointed to stuff flying around in the sky, and there were some lights beaming down from it. And then something in the distance, a big orangish hueish type light or whatever, started coming towards us and dropping down into the trees that were out in front of us. So I never did get clarification where we were, but I'm pretty sure we were at the second field, and there was a whole bunch of trees out in front of us. And at that point, he wanted to know if that's what I saw on night 1, and I told him, I don't know. And he goes, well, go take a closer look, and he sent Sergeant Bustenza with me. And so we started getting closer to it. It started coming closer to us, and then we got permission to get to go ahead and engage it, not fire on it. We were all unarmed, but figure out what it was. And that's when it came over the top of me, which that's all I remember. It came over the top of me, and Bustenza got knocked to the ground as we were getting close to it. And he looked up and he saw me go into it, and I disappeared. And I was gone for several minutes before I reappeared and the object disappeared.
At the point that it went over the top of you, what color were you seeing then?
It was, the only thing I remember was it was that orangish, whitish hueish. And again, my memory is just we were getting close to it. And then it was, I don't remember it coming over the top of me. Bustenza said it did. I just remember getting close to it. Then I don't remember anything else afterwards. And he said it came over the top of me, and I disappeared.
So this, I don't know who injected the theory that this was only the lighthouse that was off in the distance. What you seen couldn't have been just the lighthouse off in that distance?
No, but the lighthouse was involved. We've done a thorough investigation. They were, I may jump ahead a little fast, but after all this happened, I just went on my way. We got debriefed, okay, got called in, had to write a statement, went in front of the chain of command. Penniston did all the talking. He was the ranking guy. We got told that it was being looked at, and if they had any questions, they get back with us. And I was fine with that. I couldn't explain it, didn't know what it was. And at the time, I'm guilty of what a lot of people that say they see stuff that I couldn't explain it, and I didn't think we had anything capable of doing that. So therefore, what was the other conclusion? Maybe it's from somewhere else. So, but I was cool with it. I got told to shut up. I did. Went on my way. Some people claim they were interrogated, harshly interrogated. Some people claim they saw me up there and that I was interrogated, but I don't remember that. I went on my way. Then in 1982, the News of the World broke. And that changed my life forever. Because the story got out in the British tabloid that aliens landed in Rendlesham or Bentwaters, and that's the real deal. It said the wing commander had contact with it, but it wasn't the wing commander that was out there. It was the Colonel Hall. But that's when everything got crazy for me. Started getting phone calls from around the world. Don't know how they got my number, but they did. CNN showed up, wanted to interview me. I refused. The Pentagon got involved, told me I had to speak briefly with CNN and just stick with the memo. And then I got moved to Korea. I got hidden there. And ever from that point on, things got really interesting as far as what took place at Rendlesham. So, yeah, something really strange happened to us. It affected my health, affected Bestenza's health. We both have gotten compensated from the VA, and the DOD admitted we were in the incident. It took place. We were injured by it, and they're taking care of us. But a lot of what took place afterwards was crazier than what happened when we were in the field.
How about for the the remainder of your career and just in life in general? Did you ever have any other experiences in seeing things in the sky that you felt weren't normal or anything like that?
Well, no, not until way afterwards. And it would have been in between 2012 and in 2014, things got really weird. And first thing was moved to Sedona, and there's an area. Have you heard of Bradshaw Ranch?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I went out there one night with somebody that knew the area well, had equipment, and we had a very strange encounter. Stuff started happening within the first hour. The air temperature dropped, the EM meters pegged, and we had all kinds of stuff flying around in the sky and around us. And that went on for 45 minutes to an hour. So that was the first time. The other strange thing that happened to me during that time frame was I ended up being contacted from some people inside the Hopi and some elders and stuff, and I got taken up on the reservation. And I had some strange stuff happen up there, including I came face to face with a blue kachina dancer that popped out of nowhere. Basically, we were walking around the corner after I saw a sacred dance, came down off the roof, and we're walking around the corner, and there was a blue kachina dancer. I can't prove it, but I don't think he was there for 1 minute, and the next minute he was. And then he spoke to the guy that was with me in Hopi. He gave him and I both a root, and they blessed it, and then he, again, just disappeared. So that was weird, but it got even weirder because after I left up there, that got back home to Sedona, he told me to plant the root in the backyard, which I did. And all of a sudden, about an hour later, there were all kinds of weird orbs, red, mostly blue, but one red that appeared in my son's room. So after that, because he called me and wanted to know if anything happened, I told him they brought my son up to the up there, and he got to go to the Prophecy Rock, and he was the guest of honor for a bunch of their dances. And at the very end of the last dance, all the dancers gave him all the gifts, but they never would explain to me what that was all about. So,
and just out there, that everybody understands, you don't go to the Hopi Mesas and just go to a ceremony. You have to be specifically invited. And almost all of the ceremonies are closed to Hopi tribal members only, and sometimes only people from that village. And so, John, for you to be invited to that is just out of the norm. Because there are public dances, but the public dances, they have tourists come over and participate and watch those. But the one that you went to was not a public.
No, actually, some of it was. I was at a different village where anybody could go, but
Okay.
I got taken up on the second mesa, and that's not public. And
Right.
not only that, it says, because I was really nervous because he didn't really tell me. He just said, we're going somewhere else. You got to see. And I was only allowed to see 2.5 dances. That was it. I got there as
Yeah.
the first dance was starting, got up on the roof, saw half of that, and saw the 2 others. But here's where it was really made me nervous. The whole time you're driving up, there's signs posted all along. No white people allowed, no cameras, not open to the public, right?
Yeah.
So when we get up there, here's what's even weirder. I get out of the truck and we start walking with them, and no one challenged me being there. Nobody did. It was like I
Yeah.
belonged there. That's what I mean. It was strange. And then when we went up on the roof and saw, I got to see, the dance was starting when we're going up on the roof. So I got to see half of the first and the next 2. Then he immediately got me out of there. And that's when the blue Kachina dancer appeared and then disappeared, and we left. So I didn't get to stay up there very long either. It was clear they wanted me up there for one particular dance, wanted me in and out of there. And that's what happened.
Yeah, we had Bino from Oz, 1975, asked the question about Ross Colhart. Yeah, you know who Ross is.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you think about the Tic Tac public claim? Is it our secret tech? What do you think as experts in the field?
Well, it's interesting because for the last 2 years, about the last 5 years, I've shown evidence it was. We did a book for the 40th called Weaponization of UAPs, and we clearly laid out what went on with the Tic Tac, and everything was our technology. And it traces back all the way to Rendlesham. And there's a new book I'm going to put out in the fall I've got a lot more documents and stuff to support and lay it out even more thorough on everything. But yeah, there's no doubt that what they're admitting to now, what Colcard just said, and I don't know, you guys may not even know this, that I can't think of the Congressman, Burroughs, that just came out an hour ago and said it is our technology and it's the 3rd generation. That he has evidence now that the Tic Tac, they have a 3rd generation Tic Tac now. That he's been briefed on that they have a 3rd generation Tic Tac.
Yeah, just for everyone's information, in 1992 or 93, myself and some of our program went to Kirtland Air Force Base. And we were talking to them about back then GPS was just in its infancy. And we were talking about mounting GPS receivers in aircraft, like miniature drone aircraft that could fly a set pattern and video the ground, looking for archaeological site disturbances. And they mentioned to us when we were there that they were trying to miniaturize a gyroscope that would fit in a helicopter. And they said, in a miniature helicopter. And they said that the reason was that the FBI wanted something that they could fly up the outside of a building and look in a window. Sounds like peeping Tom stuff to me, but that's the kind of infancy that stuff was in. Cell phones had just barely come out. And I remember back then I had a StarTAC, of all things, made by Motorola. And so, the technology for drones at Rendlesham Forest just was not available. And if it was,
that's not true.
We didn't.
That's not true. That's not true
Okay.
at all. We've got the documents that was. Marconi Company was working on SDI during our what happened to us. And SDI,
Star Wars Defense Initiative,
did not even become famous until Reagan became president. Okay. They were working on MK Ultra, some technology from MK Ultra, and SDI stuff, drones, lasers, and satellites, and everything right there outside the back gate of Woodbridge. And it was much more advanced than people realized at that point. And that used to be the argument when I started looking into it. There's no way the drones could be that far advanced. They were a lot farther along than people realized at that point. And the technology for communications was a lot farther along and stuff at that point. And the gist of it is they got busted for MK Ultra, and Congress was heavy on them and all the technology. So they had the hearings. They said they destroyed all the technology, and that never got solved. But what they did was they moved all that over to England, because right outside that back gate, they call our incident the British Roswell, but also that was the British Area 51. They had developed radar there. They developed lasers there. They developed drones there. They developed all this stuff. And I've just now got some more declassified documents that what Thatcher was working on right during that time frame. And I'm in the middle of FOIA with the MOD, and they're not very happy with me right now.
Oh, I can imagine.
Neither is the Department of Energy. So it's amazing. And I'll say this straight up, guys. If you start researching with AI, ChatGPT, it'll find it. If it's there, it'll find it. And not only will it find it, but it'll source it. And you can verify it. But there's a lot of stuff that you may have an idea of or you've heard, and it'll find it. If it's out there, it'll find it, and it'll lay it all out. So there's a lot more stuff going on out there, John, and we were a lot farther advanced than 1980. And that's why I told you at the beginning, if I was the same way as a lot of people, there's no way that what was going on out there could have been us. And what we found is the lights that Colonel Hawk described in the sky were plasmas that were both natural, and we created them. They were capable of, at that point, either by accident or they were working on it, that they knew they could actually create time dilation bubbles. I don't know if you're aware of what those are, but they were working on that. In fact, on his tape, when he talks about looking at it through the star scope and it looks like an eye winking at you, that's a creation of a black hole. So They were working on all this technology outside the back gate in 1980. And it's interesting that Trump wants to do the Golden Dome now. Well, what do you think is going to fall into all that? Exactly what you're seeing flying around in the sky right now that was being worked on and developed back in 1980 outside the back gate of our Blue Bridge.
I know that John has been out to Sedona, and in what he's talked about, his experiences align with what it is that you've seen. And I don't know if John wants to talk a little bit about that, just briefly.
Yeah, I was out there with Ross Colehart, and we got to meet Merlinda, and she did her sky tour and allowed us to join them. Afterwards, we went up on one of the peaks and got an even better view of the stuff using night vision equipment and binoculars. And very, very interesting stuff. I mean, that stuff was just going on for hours up there. And we also saw what she described as military helicopters flying with these things from the area called Secret Mesa.
Okay. I know her. I know the area. She's not. No. A lot of that's just bogus. It just is. There was a facility out there. The military had it. I saw the clip that Colehart did about some of the structures he found. I don't know if it's still operational or not, because the reason why I know it was because I was involved with it, as far as that whenever you have an Air Force facility off base, you have to have a site manager take care of it. And Luke was in charge of that facility up in Sedona. So there was stuff up there from the Air Force. It was microwave antennas. They were monitoring the low frequencies, which is something that's been going on everywhere. There's a facility that was outside of the town of Maricopa, had the same facility. They had it as a NORAD facility, but it wasn't. And they were doing the same thing. Williams had the site management for it until they closed down, and Luke got it. And there was stuff going on up there. There definitely is something going on at Sedona. I saw it with my own eyes. But her exaggeration of the helicopters, the military. I guarantee you, I could take her into town and I could point out the military people that are up there and she wouldn't have a clue. That's all I'm going to tell you. So she likes to do those tours. Great. She promises she'll show you UFO. She knows exactly where the satellites, the space station goes over and everything else. So that's all I'm going to tell you. Now, does that mean you didn't see anything at all that night? No, because I don't know. Did she tell you about the cement factory that's out in the middle of the desert? That
She didn't talk about that, but I had already heard about that
it's there. It's out. You go down to
in
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a few cement trucks that never leave, and they're all the cement's being poured on that whole mountain range that goes right behind it. So there's stuff going on, and I'm not saying that, but a lot of it's hyped by them to get people to do their tours and stuff. But again, there is stuff that goes on. Can't deny it. In fact, what happened to us that night, the cameras, infrared cameras, showed more than what we could see with our naked eye. So I will not say that everything she says isn't true, but I can just tell you, she can pull the wool over your eyes too. So.
We had a question from MDH at Rendlesham Forest. Were any pictures taken of those UFOs that showed up?
Well, the interesting thing is that there was a guy out there in night 3, Marone Nevels, that took pictures, and he said he tried to develop them himself because he worked for I forget what agency, I can't remember now. But anyway, he also did picture development, and they all came down fog. And a couple other people that snapped pictures claimed that they all came down fog too, which people have claimed that that's because of the radiation that was out there. So yeah, people tried to take pictures, but none of them came out that I'm aware of.
If that facility was that far advanced, wouldn't there have been like security cameras that would be have footage and things like that?
You're talking about at Martlesham Heath and Aria Bowsey and stuff?
At the facility that you were stationed at.
What you're losing me. What facility now? You're talking about Woodbridge? You're talking about RAF Woodbridge?
The one that involves Eastgate.
Yeah, no. The base didn't have any of that. What was going on was out about, I don't want to tell, there was several miles out. There was a facility, it was a joint Air Force British facility called Martlesham Heath. That's where they were doing the majority of the research and work, and Marconi Company was involved with it. In fact, you could go online and see that I think up to 10 scientists that were working there during that time frame died of mysterious circumstances afterwards. And then you had Aria Bowsey, which was a radar site that was tied into it. Then you had the lighthouse that was tied to the original radar system and the stuff they had at Bowsey, and it was shooting EM frequencies into the forest. Okay. Then you had some other facilities that were farther away, and people will say, how did they power all that? Down the coast a few miles was the Sizewell nuclear power plant. That they had blueprints to show that it was connected directly to those facilities. Plus, they had an active airfield at Martlesham Heath at the time. So, did they have cameras there? I don't know. I never got to go there during that time frame, and I didn't find out about all of this till later when another researcher that I work with by the name of James Warrow and I started digging. And you could be amazed at if you ask the right questions and look certain areas, you can find out all kinds of stuff that'll lead to a picture. But if you go straight into UFOs, you get shot down right away. But if you start asking technical questions, you get a lot farther than you do if you just use UFOs.
Interesting. Do you have any knowledge of, when you went back and doing research and stuff, were there, there's a lot of farms and things like that in that particular area. Mm-hmm. Were people seeing things?
Oh, yeah. The public, on the nights that our events took place, different people in the public saw it. And then there was stuff that was seen prior to the 3 nights we had and stuff seen afterwards. that was an area that was a hotbed for that type of activity. Again, though, here's the interesting thing that I want to clarify to people. There is a phenomenon there. It's known to be there. It's tied to the ancient burial sites. And it's something the government was aware of. They were studying it at the time. And it ties into all this, and it ties into all this technology. And one other thing I want to tell you, Stan, I got to stand right outside the back fence line of Skinwalker. They wouldn't let me on Skinwalker. First they said they would, then they said they wouldn't. It's too bad Michelle's not here because she could tell you more about that. But the thing is that night when we went out there, all kinds of crazy stuff happened that night too. Stuff was flying around everywhere. All our equipment got shut down. All the batteries got drained as everything started to happen. So yeah, I've had a couple of strange incidents that have happened to me since the Rendlesham incident.
For John and I, throughout our careers, investigating the paranormal as naval rangers, we were able to clearly identify that there is a commonality among a lot of this stuff that people call paranormal or supernatural, and that being that dimensional aspect, the talk of different planes of existence and things of that nature. Do you have an opinion on the dimension thing and string theory or anything like that?
Well, okay, first of all, I'm not an expert. Second of all, I'm not a scientist. And third of all, there's something going on. And I'm sure, I mean, the thing is that the very people that have been involved in this since the 60s are still around, a lot of them. They still have influence inside the government. They, some of I don't know, you guys are familiar with the 38 DIRTS papers, right? That got submitted.
Yeah.
So they were all the people that were involved in all that. Several of them dealt with me. Because there's another aspect to the story was that after I got sick, really sick, the government wouldn't release my records. And in fact, they denied I was even in the Air Force from 79 to 82. And I had to get senators involved. McCain ended up breaking it open as far as getting me the care I needed. And I never got my documents. And they won't, even to this day, right now, I'm trying to get my retirement DD Form 214 and they won't give it to me. So what happened to us is classified. And as far as what you're saying, yeah, I'm open to all that. In fact, I'm still looking at some of that. There's something there. And according to these people, I have a ability to call them in. Michelle told me directly that she was told that I can interfere with them, whatever that means. And I could cause problems for the phenomenon itself. So I wish she was here to expand on that because I never did get a straight answer from them that totally either. But the fact of the matter is, I've gone to certain areas where there's activity and stuff shows up. So there's something going on. I'm not sure what it is.
So did the Air Force have an official statement on what all of this was about?
The only thing the Air Force did was back when a FOIA got requested way back, they released the HALT memo, which came out, and that said something took place. And that's when the news of the world took it and ran with it, and everything changed for a lot of us. But the only thing the Air Force told me when I ended up having to talk to the Pentagon on a secure line was that the story they were going to stick with was the HALT memo, which is full of holes. It's got dates wrong, it combines stuff and everything else. But that's the only thing the Air Force has ever said officially was because the memo, it was a memo, they couldn't deny it, that, yeah, an event took place, but what he described is what happened.
I just find it strange if they're saying, well, it might have been the lighthouse or, things of that nature. Why would it be classified? And why would you not be able to get the documents that you need to, your DD 214 or whatever,
Well, I'm getting to the point now where I'm pretty sure, based on all the stuff we're working on, what we've uncovered, what we're still working on getting, is that we probably had an encounter with the natural phenomenon and our own technology. And I think that's partly why all this is covered up, is because the fact is that they'll never release technology. I mean, eventually the F-117, they admitted it existed because they couldn't deny it anymore, or they gave it up for something else. But they never told you how it worked. They've never told you, other than the paint, but they don't tell you what's in the paint. The point being is they don't divulge what they have technology-wise and what they do, or they're not legally supposed to test on military personnel or anything like that unless we're aware of it in the first place. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. All you have to do is go back to the Tic Tac and the incident that took place off the coast of Florida. If you know the area where the Nimitz was, it's right next to Catalina Island. All the advanced technology and stuff that we have, radar systems and all that, set right off that area where they had their encounter. Now, if you're going to work on technology, you've got to test it against our technology. Now, the incident with the Nimitz, they weren't battle ready. They weren't armed, so they were testing our technology against the Nimitz and their radar systems. The incident off the coast of Florida, just take a look at where it took place off of. That's all where all the stealth technology and radar systems are worked on. It's not by chance that a lot of these big events happen around facilities. Now, what's taking place is they're starting to be, the computing powers change, quantum's online, and they're also, as you've heard, they've got that nuclear power that they're bringing it down to small generators and stuff. So the ability to generate the power sources necessary is coming online now. So, and they understand the plasmas, how to utilize them, how to create the effect. That's partly what stealth is. They create a plasma bubble around the aircraft, which keeps the radar systems from detecting it. And that goes all the way back to the Foo Fighters. They started learning about that back there when those objects started showing up around the aircraft, and that was being created by radars, and it was EM frequencies and stuff that were generated, and it's moved forward. Roswell had something to do, which most people aren't aware of, that about a week before that incident took place, the largest radar system we had at the time was a triangular system, went online down in that area. And then right afterwards, Roswell took place. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're down to our final minute here. Last thoughts, and then
Folks,
we're gonna have to bring you back, sir.
Okay, I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back with Michelle too, because she had some questions she wanted to ask me about my energy or whatever and stuff like that. So I'd love to get into that deeper too. But here's the thing,
Right,
guys, the government, anyone that bid off on the disclosure train, the train done left the station a long time ago and it ain't coming back. They're not going to disclose what they have, what they know, and everything else, because if they did, then the other side would know. Okay, and so disclosure is not going to happen. And as far as technology wise, we're a lot farther advanced than most people even realize.
Stan, final thoughts?
No, I've just enjoyed visiting with you, John, and talking about these subjects. And I think, people are really interested in people that have actually been there and seen these things and what their experience is. So thank you for being here with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And enlightening is the word I would describe it. Thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in today. And we will see you next week.